eBay sellers, it's Suzanne A. Wells, and this is episode number 42 of eBay, the right way. We are in a brand new year. I've got lots of great things lined up for you. Today's episode is with George Kelly, that many of you may know from the Facebook group. He's always offering words of wisdom as well as showing us some items that he sold. He is a master of the art of eBay. So let's get into the podcast. Okay, today we have the famous George Kelly with us, who is going to share his experience and knowledge. And we're just so lucky to have him on our group because not only do you post all these interesting things, but you have great advice for everybody.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Suzanne. Nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, we did an interview on YouTube in summer of 2018, and I can't believe it's been 3.5 years since we did that.
Me neither.
So much has changed.
It has. It really has.
So let's start off by telling the listeners where you're located.
I'm in Chicago. I live in the city on the far northwest side, so there's plenty of opportunities around here. So.
Okay. So no shortage of sourcing opportunities for you.
No, not at all. I could find so much stuff. It's unbelievable.
In fact, you even mentioned before we started recording that you kind of have a little stockpile there.
I have you call it the death pile. I have probably the most stuff than anybody here. So it's.
Well, that's funny because like you and Casey that sell such high dollar items, you guys have death piles. You can't leave things behind either. So
no, I buy in quantity usually. I buy a lot of stuff and I make like a bundle price, and you got to take the good with the bad. And I get a lot of bad stuff, but I get the good stuff in there with it. So
if I ever get to Chicago, can I come shop in your death
pile?
Yeah,
you can take a tour in the basement. I've been selling to other dealers. I've been having dealers come in now and go through the stuff because it's getting to be overwhelming to me. So
yeah, that's a great idea. A lot of people started doing that with COVID and everything being closed. They started shopping from each other.
Right, exactly.
So good for you.
And the stuff I don't want to deal with it on eBay. I bought a lamp or something. I don't want to try to ship it anymore. It's too much. I just don't need it. I have too much other little stuff I can sell. But
I'm on board with that. I love shipping gloves and eyeglasses and little things. So
right, easy stuff.
Yeah. So let's back up to what you did in your life before eBay. What kind of career life did you have?
Well, I worked for the Chicago Public Schools, and I was a building engineer. I took care of the building, and I ran the heat and everything to do with the facilities. I was in charge of housekeeping and everything. So I did that for 30 years before I retired.
When did you retire?
17 years ago, I retired.
So you didn't really retire. You just stopped your job so you could get your pension.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what I did. Well, we talked before. My wife had a lot of health problems, so I wanted to stay home with her and spend more time with her. She had cystic fibrosis. I don't know if you're aware.
It
was bad. She almost died. She almost died back in around 1990, and she ended up getting a double lung transplant.
Oh wow!
So it was it's a lot to it, to survive that. But she lived for 24 years, so thank God. So
wow. So that's kind of a miracle because
it was a miracle. She was
high maintenance illness.
It is. It really is. It was amazing. We went through a lot then. It was quite amazing.
Well, thank goodness for eBay. You can kind of do that on the side.
Well, one of the problems was when I was working, I had my insurance, which they paid for the transplant, which was over $1 million.
Oh my God.
They paid for everything. But when I retired, they wouldn't pay. If I want to stay in the plan, I had to pay for it. And with a pre-existing condition, I didn't want to try to go somewhere else. So we had to buy into it. And it was $2,500 a month. So, that's what it costs us for the insurance. So I used eBay to pay for that, basically. So I wanted to do $2,000 a month in profit, so I could, it's not such a crimp in our lifestyle. So I'd have to
Right.
sell like $4,000 a month just to do that. So that's what I was doing for a long, long time. So
going back to the retiring from the school system, I've actually reconnected with my high school English teacher
oh, really?
on Facebook. And I just always loved her class. And we went to lunch one day and ended up sitting there for 4 hours, drinking coffee and talking. And
Oh, that was nice.
she retired about the same time, and
Oh, yeah.
early 2000s. But she substitute teaches. And I was like, but I thought you retired. And she's like, no, that was just to get my pension and
Right.
get what I had earned. And she loves being a substitute because you don't have all the responsibilities.
Exactly. You work when you want.
As little as you want. If you don't want to go to a
Right.
certain school, you can say no. And
Right.
she loves teaching and wants to keep doing it. But she's like, yeah, substitute teaching is the way to go because you don't have all the meetings and the lesson plans. You don't have to be the chair of a department. You just show up, and they usually leave easier work for you than
You babysit all day, basically.
Yeah. So retirement doesn't mean stop working.
No, not at all.
So now you have some experience in the estate sale industry too.
Right. I used to, what happened was I got into flea markets again before eBay started and before the internet or anything. I was doing the flea market, and I figured out that I needed to be selling collectibles at the flea markets that would sell. And so I started doing that. And then when eBay came along, it was like the perfect thing. I had collectibles, and I just started selling them on there, and it was what I always wanted to do. I always had the idea that I wanted to do an eBay or a mail order business. Back before the internet, I wanted to do mail order, and I was trying to figure that out. But when eBay came along, it was like perfect. And I had the stuff, and it just was a natural. And then I got a spot at an antique mall. I rented a booth, so I needed stuff to put in there. So I put an ad in the paper that I buy antiques, I buy collectibles, and people would call me all the time. I'd get 3 or 4 calls a month, and I'd go to their house, and grandma died or somebody died, and they're trying to clean out the house, and I would buy a lot of stuff. And a lot of the people were just overwhelmed by what was going on, that they had to deal with it. So I told them, you need to do an estate sale to get rid of the stuff. And they're like, I don't know how to do that. So I'd say, well, I could help you out. I could run a sale for you. So I would get sales like that all the time. And I had a partner I worked with, so me and him would go in and price everything, and we'd have a sale on the weekend and sell everything. So
you just kind of started your own side business doing that. It wasn't
right.
It wasn't like one of these major companies that comes in and advertises.
Right, exactly. It was more like doing them a favor, helping them clean out I didn't make a lot of money doing it, but we enjoyed it, and we get to goof around with the people, and I hang out with my buddies all for weeks getting ready.
The stuff you must have seen that helped you learn what's
it's amazing. It is amazing. Yeah.
That must have been a huge education.
It was. And the flea market's a huge education too. I've been selling at the flea market for 30 years. And
oh, wow.
That's where you really learn what people are going to buy and what they're not going to buy.
Okay. I've got one near me, my new place that I moved last year. It's about 10 miles up the road. And, I've been like, should I go? Am I going to know what to even look for? And I just need to go check it out and see what's there.
Well, yeah. I'm to the point where at this point in my life, I'm just using it to get rid of junk that I don't want to put on eBay. So I go out there, I get there at 5 a.m, and I also buy for dealers at garage sales because I know what they want. Some people want music instruments, some people want this, they want that. And so I buy stuff cheap and I sell it to them cheap, and I make money on it. And then about 8 o'clock, everything's $1. I have a dollar table and everything just goes. And they buy everything. It's just, I go with a whole van full of stuff. I mean, packed to the gills. And when I get home, I get maybe 3 tubs of stuff that hasn't sold, and that all goes to the Salvation Army. And so I empty a whole van every week, and I went 14 times this year. So
Oh my gosh.
that's the amount of stuff I get rid of.
So,
And I usually make about $600 every time I go. That's about my average.
So to look at you posting in the Facebook group, you look like a picker, just like, oh, I just picked up this one thing I sold for $2,500, but it's really, you have a huge quantity.
I do. Yeah, I do. I do mainly garage sales. That's my whole thing. I don't go to thrift stores. I don't go to like conducted estate sales. I do go to them now and then, but there's nothing else going on. But I'd rather go to a garage sales. And I find so much stuff. It's just unbelievable.
Garage sales where people don't know what they have.
Well, what I'm looking for people that, like I said, grandma died and they got a whole bunch of junk that she left there or that's in their basement. And, they don't know what to do with it. They drag it out of the garage sale. And one thing that's been very helpful to me is to have a business card. I handle my card. I have one here.
Yeah, you mentioned that before, and I love that idea. Yeah, same one. We buy anything old.
Yeah, we buy anything old. And I go up and I talk to people, I try to get to know them a little bit, try to hear their story, what's going on. And if it sounds interesting, I'll give them my card and they say, well, I'm buying this kind of stuff. If you got anything, I'd be interested. And I call this a memory jogger, because people will look at this and they'll go, oh, you buy. I went to a sale and some woman, her husband had just died. And I gave her the card and she said, oh, you buy cameras? And I said, oh, definitely. So she went in the house and brought out a box of 4 cameras, and she wanted $50 for all 4 of them. And there was 2 Kodak, a Minolta, and a Leica Flex. And I knew Leica's a good camera. So she wanted $50. So I gave her the 50. And then she said, I have a box of parts in the house too. So she brought those out, and it was a whole big box filled with Leica lenses. And they were all from the 60s, and they're all in the original boxes. And she wanted 100. So I bought that. And she said she had more in the basement. So she said she's going to call. And a week later, she called me, and I went over there, and she had 2 more boxes of Leica lenses and more cameras, and because he was a photographer. And I gave her $500 for the other 2 boxes because I knew I had looked it up, I had researched it, I knew they're good. But I ended up making over $10,000 profit just on them.
Oh my gosh!
Those boxes of cameras. It was just, I didn't really know what I was getting, but I knew it was good stuff. But one of the cameras went for $1,200, and one of the lenses went for $950. It's one of those things where it's just handing her card. And then she wanted her basement cleaned out, and I ended up going over there for 2 years buying stuff from her. She would call me like once a month, and she'd say, I got more stuff. And she would put it all on the kitchen table, and that's all she would sell me. And she said, that's all I want to sell. And I would just buy everything because I didn't want her calling somebody else, I wanted to buy it all. So,
but I mean, who else would she call, really?
Well, there's all people's got ads in the paper and stuff. I don't know.
Okay, you're right. I'm not like a paper reader anymore, so I forget about that.
Well, ads in the paper. You could put ads on Craigslist, or you could put ads anywhere, really. I used to send flyers I used to make up. You ever watch the American Pickers? They have a flyer. They go in there and they said, "Here's the flyer. Here's what we buy."
Oh, okay.
I used to make up a flyer like that, and I would mail it to houses for sale. Go on the for sale.
That is genius. Good idea.
I would mail them a thing saying, "Here's what I buy," and I'd have a whole list of stuff, and people would call and say, "Well, come on over." And
that's just perfect. That is so. I mean, it's so basic and easy, but how many people actually think to do that?
I know how many people get that.
Yeah, I love that idea that here's my card, here's what I buy. And yeah, and it's especially now, well, the housing market's all weird now. You got all these people who sold their houses for a boatload of money down here in Atlanta anyway. And then they have nowhere to go. They're in apartments, they're living in the basements of their grown children because they're like waiting for the prices to come down so they can afford anything. But what I see is just, I moved last year and I downsize all the time. That's like, I keep myself mobile, but I just see all these people that are like, yeah, we already have 2 storage units full of stuff and now we need to buy another one. And I'm thinking,
Right.
how can I approach them and say, can I come shop in your storage unit?
Right.
You know, don't you want to just lighten your load a little bit rather than getting another storage unit? How about having less stuff and, you know, figure out a way to get in on that and help them out, but like shop their stuff.
Well, I give my card. Here's my card, just in case you got something you want to sell.
You know, I think I'm going to make a card and try
I
that.
make them
Or
on my
even-
computer. It's really easy. You know, it's not hard.
Or even just, you know, I go to thrift stores a lot, but like as I come across people in the thrift store and hear them talking, you know, about downsizing or, you know, anywhere I go, maybe just like, hey, I buy stuff if you're downsizing. That would just be such a great way to have the inventory come to you.
It is. That's the best way. I want to get in the house. I want to go in the basement. I want to get up in the attic. I want to. And I do it all the time.
Climb in the dumpster in the driveway.
Well, I don't do. Well, I have in the past, but you know, I went 2 weeks ago. I went to an estate sale where the family was running it, and it was in the garage. And then I asked the guy. I bought some records from him, and then he said, "You're interested in old stereo equipment?" I go, "Oh yeah, definitely." He goes, "Well, come out in the basement." So then we went down, and next thing you know, he says, "Well, everything's for sale. Just go through the whole basement." And I was the only one down there going through it. So, I mean, is it a little garage sale, basically, you know?
Well, I know people listening are going to think, oh, you're going into a stranger's house alone. Aren't you afraid of getting murdered or something? And it's like, maybe as a woman, I might bring my 6'12" son with me, but yeah, I mean, of course you're going to be careful, but you know, you don't need the internet to murder somebody. You can do that anytime. You don't.
I've gone into thousands of houses and never had a problem.
I feel like
I mean, there's some that I want to get out of there, but you know, some are so horrible that you want to leave. But
I feel like I'm going to develop something from the storage unit angle, because that even here, they're all full. They're having they're building new ones all the time anyway. But
right.
They're just, and then they're raising their rates because, you know, it's the way the economy is, and they know the people aren't going to leave because they have nowhere to go.
Right.
Is the housing market. So it's this whole domino effect of the storage unit industry now. So that's a really great idea. I love that. So sometimes being old fashioned is just the way to go. You don't have to put everything on the internet. You can hand somebody a piece of paper.
Exactly. It's amazing. And I do it all the time. I mean, I go to probably 50 garage sales every day in the summer, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
My gosh.
And I specialize. I go to neighborhood sales, subdivision sales, citywide sales.
Right.
And they have them almost every weekend around here somewhere. So I want to go where there's 20, 30, 40, 100 sales in one neighborhood. And now I could go to all of those sales. Even if I'm not the first one there, I go and talk to the people and I ask for this. You got this, you got that. I mostly ask for jewelry. That's my thing now, is I want gold. I find gold every weekend at garage sales, believe it or not.
Yeah, you said that before. That's just the thing.
It's
and
amazing.
What's interesting is being a mentor in this eBay business, new people, they just don't believe. They don't believe that this thing will sell for that much. And that's a common problem across non-resellers, is they just don't know that old crappy thing from the 60s, that ashtray that has Mercedes-Benz on the front of it or whatever, the automobile ones, they don't know that's going to sell for $400, or that paperweight that they got in France 50 years ago is going to sell for $1,000. They don't believe. And then, you know, you come along and you just know that it will.
I know. I grab it, and you know, the thing is, nowadays you got your phone, you can look most stuff up, you know, before you buy it. And every garage sale, I look something up. I'm constantly looking things up at garage sales because I don't know everything. And you know, if it's got the name on it or the model number, it's so easy to punch it in there if it's worth money. I was at a sale yesterday and they had one of those vacuum tube testers, and you know, I looked it up and it was probably worth $200, but I just didn't want to deal with it, you know, and I didn't even ask the guy what they wanted because it was just too big and bulky, and I got so much stuff now. But I mean, somebody could have made some good money on that thing.
you have the room and the willingness to ship a big item.
And it wasn't all that big, but it's just, it's electronic. I don't know if it works or.
Oh, right. Right.
But I
Now,
mean, the stuff is out there. You got to look it up. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, you better be looking it up.
So when you look it up, do you just look on eBay Completeds or do you look at other sites too?
Once in a while, I'll look on Amazon if there's a barcode, if it's
Mhm.
something newer. Like I pick up video games because everybody wants video games. And if I get them cheap, I'll just buy them. And if I have to, I'll sell them at the flea market. But, I scan them to see what they're worth. But I mostly just use eBay because that's where I want to sell it.
Mhm.
I'm not going anywhere else with it.
So all that special knowledge is just on eBay. You don't have a membership to anything else or.
Right. Uh-huh.
Nope. Yeah, I feel the same. Just especially when you get back home, you can use Terapeak that goes back a year. So
Right.
That's a big enough window, I think, to give you accurate pricing.
I'm at the point where I pretty much know. I mean, I just know it's
Yeah,
good
you
and it
know.
isn't good. I got into a sale last year. It was an estate sale, and the woman was a pack rat, I guess you can call it. The house was just packed, and I went there. And first day I was there, I spent $700 and had a big pile. And then I ended up again going for a whole year, going through the house with the family, buying stuff. I would go there every 2 weeks, and they told me to just come anytime you want because they could see I'm spending money, and I would get first picks before anybody else got in there. And I spent over $9,000 there last year buying stuff. So that's why I have so much stuff right now. It's just, but I put the good stuff on eBay and I already made my 9,000 back. So now it's all profit, whatever else, I have so much, it's just unbelievable.
Now, when we talked last time, you said you only have maybe 50 listings at a time. Is that still the case?
Right. I'm in it to flip stuff. I don't want to have a giant store where I'm sitting waiting for years. I want to move the stuff. I'd rather do an auction and get rid of it right now or sell it cheap and just like, that's what I do at the flea market. I buy it cheap, I sell it cheap and I move it. Now I got money to buy more stuff. And it's so easy to find stuff for me that it's just, I'd rather, I call it keep the conga line moving and just keep the stuff coming and going. I used to tell my wife, if I'm not going to the post office every day, I'm not making money. So,
right.
I have the stuff in the basement sitting there, waiting to be sold. I'd rather sell it. My old saying is, fast nickel's better than a slow dime. I'd rather.
Yeah, especially if you have access to so much stuff. And
exactly.
I preach all the whole, work your death pile and don't have a death pile, but there's a lot of people that get into eBay and it's justified shopping and they really have no intention of listing it. And then they come and they're like, why am I not making any money? And I'm like, well, how many unlisted things do you have? And they're like, oh, probably 2,000. So it's like, that's the answer to your problem. Get your stuff listed. But you're intentionally doing it this way. That's just the way you do your business. And it's not like you're a hoarder and you have a mental illness. It's just.
No, not at all. Everything's for sale.
And everything's for sale. You get the stuff. And it's like, the older I get, the more I think, well, maybe I should have a death pile, a pile to work from. So I'm out all the time finding stuff, but it is nice. Like today it's pouring down rain. It's a horrible day. Nobody wants to go anywhere. And I could just, go to my closet and just get some things to list, but I don't have anything. Everything's listed. So I got to go out and find some stuff today.
Well, I'd rather go look for more stuff, even though I have stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and it gets you out. This is an isolating business. It gets you out into the world around people and just sitting at home on your computer listing all the time. That's not really healthy. Can you remember what was the highest price thing you've ever sold on eBay?
I do, because it's. Can I tell the whole story of how I found it?
Absolutely.
We went to I went with my wife. There was an estate sale. It was on a Sunday from 11 to 1, just for 2 hours. So we went there and we got there right at 11. And the guy was just putting the sign out. We were the only ones that showed up. And it was his dad's house and it was just filled with mid-century modern stuff. And it was unbelievable. They were just giving the stuff away. So I had a big pile going. And in the basement, there was a pile of that old silver plated, like trays and pitchers and teapots and stuff. There was a lot of it there. And of course, I go through and looking for silver because many times I found silver in there. But there was no silver there, but there was a little water pitcher there. That was about 8 inches tall. And
I remember this item. Yep.
It was Art Deco, and it had a little green, they call it Catalan plastic handle on it. And it was all wrapped with saran wrap. So I just threw it in my pile. I figured the heck with it. So when I got home, I started researching it. And it was the Rockford Silver Company, which was made in Rockford, Illinois. And I found a lot of stuff, but nothing that style. It was just such a distinctive style. But I went on First Dibs, and some guy had the tray that went with it, and he had the salt and pepper shakers, and he was asking $4,000 just for those. And so I thought, wow, this could be good. So I put it on eBay, and I started the auction at $75, and I got a bid immediately. And then I had 4 watchers, and it sat for the whole week. And then I like to watch my auctions right at the end, at the last minute of it, to see what happens. So I'm watching it, and then the countdown's going down. It's 10 seconds, 5 seconds, and at 5 seconds, it went from $75 to $2,510, just that fast. So it sold for $2,510. And I think what happened was the first guy bid $2,500, and then eBay will only put your bid to the lowest amount. Right. But then somebody at the end bid higher than him, and it knocked him up $10, so it was $2,510. So.
And I remember that item. It was very plain looking. It almost looked colonial or very primitive. Yeah. It wasn't. It didn't have a lot of ornate scrolling and stuff like that. I couldn't get the saran wrap off it. It was stuck to the thing, and I didn't want to try to damage it, so I just sold it the way it was. Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that was maybe last year, 2 years ago?
No, that was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was a while.
I remember that showing up on the Money Making Mondays.
Yeah, that was my best one so far.
Yeah,
on eBay,
That was.
And I sold a dresser one time for $1,800. It was a bedroom dresser, which is unbelievable.
Was that on eBay local pickup?
Yeah, local pickup, but a guy in Rhode Island bought it, and he had a truck come and get it. So, you can't be afraid of that, because there's companies that will come and pick that stuff up and take it wherever it's got to go. And I talked to the truck driver, and he said, that's what I do. I do it full time. He said, I go anywhere from Chicago to the East Coast. And he says, I'm constantly bringing stuff back and forth. Unbelievable.
Yeah, especially all these production companies that are doing all these retro and vintage shows, right. Like the reboots, and they need that authentic stuff for their props. And it's Canada, they do a lot of production up there.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing. The whole thing's just amazing. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no rules or anything. It's just, you got to get out there and find it. It's not going to show up if you don't go look.
So when you go down to your basement or wherever your stuff is stored, what criteria do you use to choose what you're going to list next? Is it the first thing you reach? Is it the most expensive? How do you pick?
It's whatever's in my way. And I'm to the point where there's no shelf space or there's nowhere to put anything. So it's just kind of piled up, and I end up knocking stuff over. So I need to and then I start, just take a box and take the first box and just deal with everything in there. Either it goes on eBay or it goes in the flea market box, one or the other. And, just do a box at a time. But really right now I'm just trying to get stuff out of the way so I could operate.
So you're just saying, don't overthink it. Just pick something and get it listed.
Right. Either list it or put it in the flea market box, one or the other.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And then all winter, I'll put flea market box to the side. And then the first day of the flea market out there, I go, it's a free for all. These people are just all over me, because it all looks like eBay stuff, and they want it. They don't realize that I had it on eBay, it didn't sell, and now I want to get rid of it.
They don't realize they're getting the rejects.
Well, I don't know, whatever they're doing, what they're buying it. So, and I'm selling it cheap. I'm not trying to make money. I'm just trying to get rid of it.
Well, and I think everybody's just passing stuff around because my process is if I've had something over a year and like I wouldn't buy that now, like that's over or nobody wants it, no offers, no traction on that listing, I redonate it because it's just not working for me. But I wonder when I do that, other resellers come behind me and they think this is such a great find. And I'm like, well, good luck because it didn't work for me, but that doesn't mean it won't work for you.
I've had a number of times where I take stuff to the flea market and sell it to other dealers, and I watch their eBays, and they get money for it when I got nothing for it. I couldn't get a bid, and they sell it
Exactly.
for money. It's like I had a set of. I went to some sale, and the guy had these booklets with credit cards in there from the '70s, and he told me that he was trying to be in the Guinness Book of World Records for the guy that had the most credit cards at the time. But somebody else beat him out by like 10 cards. So he must have had 200 credit cards. So I bought them all for like $20. And I put them on eBay. They couldn't get a bid. So I took them to the flea market. This other guy bought them. He put them on there and he got like $160 for them. It's like, why? It's like, don't make
there's
sense.
something with the eBay algorithm that knows what sells in your store and what works. But
I know.
But then again, I try new things all the time and they sell in a week. And it's like, I found some brass bookends and I hadn't been looking at the brass, but that's a thing now. So, and it doesn't break when you ship it. So,
Right.
And they sold right away. And it's like, I've never even tried to sell that before. So I don't know if I buy into that whole algorithm. eBay knows what sells in your store.
It's just the luck of the. I've had stuff where it went no bid and I relisted it and all of a sudden I got all kinds of bids. So, I mean.
Now, so that brings me to a good question. Do you go through and tweak your listings if they've been there a while, or do you just let them ride?
I just let them ride, and then if I get sick of it, I cancel them and just throw it in the flea market box. I want it off the shelf. There's no room down there. I just don't need this stuff sitting on the shelves. I just want to get rid of it.
Right. There is that. I'm sick of looking at this factor.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sick of it. It's like these people at garage sales. They're just sticking to stuff. They want it out of there. Grandma kept all this junk. They don't care what they get for it. And I have the same feeling. I go out to the flea market. I don't care what I paid. It's on the dollar table. It's $1, and people buy it.
Do you do auctions or fixed price or both, or do you have a process on that?
It all depends on the thing. If it's something kind of rare, I think there's interest in it, I'll do an auction. If it's a common thing where I know exactly about what those things sell for. If I sell something newer, I know what the price range is, so I'll try to have it on the low end and try to get rid of it. But I'd like the auctions because it's gone. It's gone within a week.
Yeah, turn and burn.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. That's my whole philosophy right there. Like I said, I have too much. I can't stockpile the stuff. I don't know where to put it. I have nowhere to.
How much time would you say you spend working on your eBay? A day, a week, whatever?
Maybe 10 hours a week, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I ever did. Especially like when I was working, I would just do it in the evenings. And I would spend maybe 2 hours listing stuff. But I usually, for a while there, I would average about $100 everything I bought. It was my average sale price. So, if you do that, you could make money in a hurry, I don't fool with stuff that's only going to sell for $20. I try not to, sometimes I do, but I try not to.
I know sometimes it's like, well, I know I could sell that in a day. I just got to pick that up. It's 50 cents and it's an easy.
It's hard for me to pass up a bargain, but I usually take them out to the flea market and just sell them out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's bargains everywhere. I mean, it's amazing. I went to one yesterday and there was just so much stuff there, but I just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
It is, yeah.
That's just our whole society is accumulation. Just everybody.
Well, the fun part's buying. I want to buy. That's what I want to do. Selling's a pain.
Right. But as far as opportunities, just people, everybody's house is full of stuff.
Yeah,
and
it is.
It's too overwhelming for most people to tackle that and downsize.
Right.
And I preach all that because being a teacher in this business and all the people I worked with that they lose a loved one and then they have to move, or they don't want to tackle it. It's just denial. They just don't want to tackle it. And then it's so emotional trying to do it. And I just decided years ago, I was like, I'm not leaving that behind for my kids. I'm just going to.
That was the point I meant to make before. And I forgot that I go into these houses and I see it constantly. They have all this stuff and mom left all this junk and how we got to do. I don't want to do that to my daughter either. You know what I mean? And now I have a whole basement full of junk now.
But it's not your personal junk. It's just stuff she could have a sale and get
rid of. If I was to die, it's my daughter's personal junk, And I go to people's house all the time. I was at a house a couple of weeks ago and the guy dropped dead and his kid was there and the garage is just filled with tools and, just junk, and it's just like, now he's got to deal with it, And I just turned 70 last year. So, I mean, how much longer do I want to deal with this stuff? You know what I mean? This is.
Well, I mean, at that level anyway, that much.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I like doing it. I want to do it. And my whole idea over the years was when I get older, I would just be doing like jewelry and watches, little stuff that I could have in a box where I could have $5,000 worth of stuff in one tub,
Mm-hmm.
But now I got 20 tubs full of jewelry in the basement. It's just all this stuff, and it's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to ever sell it all? How am I going to? And I have been selling to dealers. I have a guy that's been buying jewelry from me, and he's been buying clothing. I found a vintage clothing store down in the city. This guy that owns it, and he's looking for stuff, and I could find it for him, and he loves it. He pays for it too. He pays good money. I don't have to ship it. I don't have to do anything with it.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, and I love how your mindset is about relationships with people.
Right.
Both on the buying and the selling. You've got the flea market relationships,
right.
Get rid of stuff. You've got the relationships you build with people, going to their house for 2 years to help them downsize. So
right.
That's really important.
People seem to like me for some reason. They seem to trust me. They invite me in their house, and I have no problem with doing that. And I've just been doing it for years. And I always, I talk to them. I try to build some rapport, and I try to find out what their story. And people love telling you their life story at these garage sales. They just, I get to know how old they are, how many kids they got, where they went to high school, and when they got married. I hear the whole story.
Well, and especially if it's somebody who's recently passed away, and
right.
That's how they honor their memory or keep them alive. It's like, well, let me tell you about this license plate we got out and such and such.
Exactly.
When we lived here and on this lake, and they go into their whole thing, and it's therapeutic for them to tell you the story.
And I encourage them to tell their story, because then they get to like me and they get to trust me. And the next thing well, come on in the basement. And I've been on women's going in there, come in the bedroom and go on the top shelf and my dresser or my closet there and pull that jewelry box down. I'm like, oh, okay. I had one old lady, she says, would you like to go in the bedroom and go in my drawers? I go, I guess so.
You want me to go in your drawers?
I know, if you want me to. Then we'll open up the drawers of the dresser. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, you look like a trustworthy guy. And I guess it happens in stages. Like first you're in the garage, and then they let you come in the kitchen, and they're like, okay, he's okay. He's not pulling out knives trying to stab me. Okay, now we'll go a little further into the family room. And
right. I've had people go in the attic and, spend as long as you want, go through it and bring the stuff downstairs. I was like, okay, so I had one lady, I did that. I was up there for like an hour and a half, and I come down and all the lights are shut off in the house. And I'm like, where is this woman? And I don't see her anywhere. So I was calling her name. Then I look in the bedroom and she's in bed sleeping, I'm like,
you're like, oh, was I up there that long?
Well, I'm thinking, what if her son came home right now and I'm up in the attic, and she's in bed sleeping, I'm going to get arrested here, So I was yelling her name. What was her name? I can't remember.
I'm leaving now.
Then she woke up. Oh, I fell asleep. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, so
I have 100 stories. I have hundreds of stories.
I bet you need to write a book, maybe.
I probably should. That's my daughter keeps saying, you should write a book about everything. It's just, you wouldn't believe it.
I'm writing a book right now about, it's kind of a memoir. It's after my loved one died last year. I just started journaling to deal with it. And I just didn't want to forget anything. And it's now 50,000 words. And that's one of the reasons I reconnected with my high school English teacher
Oh, yeah.
She volunteered to proofread and edit it.
Oh,
So
nice. Really?
yeah, that was like such a blessing. But
That's a
I
big
just,
help. Yeah.
it's just there was a lot of unfinished business, and he was a veteran, and there was just
Yeah.
a lot of stories. I'm like, I want to tell these stories because a lot of them are just hilarious. He was so funny and fun to be with, and it was very therapeutic. And then
Yeah.
I got to the point where it was really long, and I thought, with all this self-publishing out there, it's really easy to make a book.
It is. Yeah.
Just do it. So that's coming out next year early.
Oh,
as soon as I get it all wrapped
that sounds
up.
interesting. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
good.
I took a break during the holidays to enjoy the holidays because
Right.
it's hard writing that kind of thing where you have to relive everything.
Right. It is. Yeah.
It's very emotional. I was like, I'll pick that up after the holidays.
Yeah.
But anyway, everybody has a book in them, and you do have some funny stories. I
have some hilarious stories, some horrible stories too. Some places I've been in where you would not want to go in there.
Let's hear a horrible story.
Well, I was at there was another sale I went. This had to do with my car. Some woman called about my ad in the paper, and she said she had jewelry. So I went over there, and it was just a bunch of junk jewelry, like little kid stuff, all broken. And her son was there, and he said, "Well, what are you looking for?" And I gave him my card, and he goes, "Oh, you're looking for books?" And I'm always looking for books. So he says, "Well, come in the basement." Well, it was unbelievable. There must have been 25,000 books down there, maybe more.
Yikes.
His father had collected books, and there was all other stuff. It was another one of those spots that was just unbelievable. But it was, it was dark and dirty and nasty down there. And it was, I know it sounds ridiculous. It sounds unbelievable, but I went through the basement for 5 years, digging through this guy's basement because I made friends with with the son, and he was the same age as me, and he lived not far from me, so we had a lot of the same. And he would start talking about his life, and I would just get him talking as I went through the stuff. But one time I was down there, and I was trying to dig into this back corner where I hadn't been in there, and there was a glue, this glue board for mice.
Oh, mice, yeah. Uh-huh.
For mice, yeah, or rats. It's a big giant one. Well, I stepped on the thing because I didn't see it in the dark. It's all big glue board. The problem was there was a mouse on it.
Oh.
It had probably been there for a week or so, and it popped when I stepped on it.
Oh gosh.
So then I come out of there. You ever see the Three Stooges where they put a pie in the face and they pull it and it like stretches all out?
Yeah.
Well, that's how it was on my shoe. So I'm pulling this thing off my shoe and stretching that glue like this, and it stinks, and it's like, and there's nowhere to sit in this basement, so I can't sit down. And now, it's so filthy in there, and I ended up throwing my shoes out. I had no choice.
Yeah. What other choice do you have?
Yeah, I was like, what do I do for this business? Then of course I'm walking in the basement with socks on, and it's just nasty. It hasn't been cleaned down there in 30 years,
Right.
Pigsty.
Maybe you could put that on your business card, except disgusting basements. We don't do that.
You got to go and look. And that's why I always put furniture on my card, because people always want to get rid of furniture. That's the number one thing they want to get rid of. So, they call. I went to one where the woman said, we got this buffet they wanted to sell. So I go over there and I'm like, I don't know. So I give her my card and she goes, "Oh, you buy trains?" I go, "Yeah, definitely. I'm looking for trains." She goes, "So come in the basement." And her son was mentally challenged back in the 50s and 60s, but he was into trains. So everybody would give him their old train. This guy had a whole basement full of trains, and like Lionel trains. Mm-hmm. And I said, "What do you want for him?" She goes, "Make an offer. And we have to." He was in a nursing home. She said, "We'd have to ask him." And I said, "I'll give you $1,000 and haul them all out of here." So then a week later, they called me and they said, "Yeah, he'll take 1,000." So I went over there and I got probably 500 Lionel engines and cars, and there was slot cars, and there was remote control airplanes, and it took me 3 van loads to bring it all home. So,
oh my gosh.
Just from handing them my card, from some going to look at some piece of furniture that I didn't want, I mean, you can always say, I like it, but it's the wrong color or whatever. You can always make an excuse why you don't want it. But what else is here for sale? Here's my card. What else are you selling?
that just boils down to, if you don't ask, you don't get.
You never know.
And people just
And I
don't
do it all the
know.
time. I get stuff all the time. It's just
People just
amazing.
don't know that this thing they have is worth anything, or that anybody would want it.
Well, they forgot it's in the basement. I went to one and the guy said, I got any slack cars? And he says, yeah, they're in the basement. He brings out 3 sets of slack cars, the thing. It's like, if I didn't ask the guy, he would never thought to bring it out. He just never thought about it, I went to one where I got a phone call from a woman. She said, you were at our sale 10 years ago and left your card here. And she said, you wanted to buy a train, but we didn't want to sell it. But now we're moving to Florida. We're downsizing. We want to sell it. So I went over there and they were going to have another garage sale. So they took me in the basement and here's all the stuff we're selling. Well, there was a bunch of tools there and they're Snap-on tools. So I said, what about the tools? And the guy said, well, I was a salesman for Snap-on and these were my samples. He said, I'm not a mechanic. He wasn't a mechanic. He just would get to keep whatever he didn't sell, I guess. So I ended up buying it all for $650. And because I left the card there 10 years before that, it's like unbelievable.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. But that business card idea has gotten you a long way.
It really is. And another guy that did the same thing. 10 years ago, we were at my sale. Well, it turns out that he's flipping houses now. And every now and then he gets a house that's full of junk. And he calls me up and he says, you want to come over? And so I go over there and I go through it and, buy a bunch of junk, but just go. And I went to one where the people had been there for, 75 years. And apparently back in the 60s, they had a store and they closed the store and they put all the merchandise up in the attic. So it was all brand new stuff in the attic. It was like those Pyrex bowls that were brand new in the box. That's it was just all kinds of stuff, so I spent $300 and, it's got all this stuff. It was just unbelievable.
Well, and what you're doing with this business card, directly contacting the people, a lot of the stuff isn't going to show up in Goodwill because they're selling so much online now. They're filtering what's coming in. So
Right.
You're bypassing that middleman.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah. And it's working. And it has.
That's what my flyers to say. It says, before you sell it at a garage sale, before you give it away, before you donate it, call me first. I buy this, the stuff I buy, And, hopefully they'll see that and say, well, let me call this guy. It can't hurt, take some
Right.
guy come over and look at the stuff.
And you pay them in cash?
Yeah, I pay in cash. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would never give a check or anything.
Well, yeah, but there's all these online things like Venmo and.
No, I pay cash. I have money in my pocket. When I go garage selling, I have at least $1,000. And if I'm going to, a house call, I might want more. I'm not going to go in there and say, I got to run to the bank or something, here's the money and I'm out of there.
Yeah. And once they see the cash, then they're probably willing to charge you less.
Well, they're willing to bring more out then,
He's got cash in hand. What else can we do here? Right.
Yeah, let's go.
That.
I tell them I want to spend money. What do you got? I want to buy.
The
house call is the way to get in to be the first in the door. And I've gone to a place where I buy everything in the apartment. I buy all the furniture and everything, but I try not to deal with furniture anymore. I used to have the mall spot so I could put stuff in the mall, but I got rid of that. It wasn't worth my time and effort. Same with the eBay. Same with the estate sales. They got to be not worth my time. It's just, I didn't make enough money. I could put stuff on eBay and make more money without having to deal with that for a whole week and dealing with the people and,
So that's a perfect segue into what kind of money do you make a month doing this on eBay?
Well, like I said, for a long time, I was doing about $4,000 a month in sales, but lately I've been cutting back a little bit. One of the problems was my wife, we had health problems and I had to have insurance and we were paying $2,500 a month. So I had to, I wanted to pay with that for eBay. So it wasn't making a big dent in our lifestyle, which is what I did. But now she passed away now and I don't have to have that insurance anymore.
Right.
Right. So I pay $185 a month or whatever. And my supplemental there's no cost to it. That's all I pay. So, I don't need the money that bad. I was really doing it to pay I like doing it. I really enjoy doing it. It was a lot of fun, but it wasn't like a job or anything. But I was doing it to pay the insurance. So now I don't have to. So I kind of, I backed off a little bit, and it's been kind of emotional with me losing my wife. So it's kind of not as easy as it was, but, like I say, I got to get rid of this stuff. So I got to really crank it up after the first of the year.
So are your kids and grandkids close to you? Are they in the same area?
Yeah, they live like 10 minutes away. Yeah.
That's
I have
good.
one daughter and three
just the one.
grandkids.
Okay. And how many grandkids?
Three little ones.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures on your Facebook.
Yeah, four and 2 and 4 months. One of them's
Oh
4
my,
months.
they are little.
Yeah, they're all little. Yeah. So I spend a lot of time with them. I babysit them 1 day a week, and they come over all the time. So, and I'm over there. So
Good. So you don't have the pressure of that financial obligation anymore.
right. So it
You can
feels
kinda
really nice.
slow it down a little bit.
So I buy toys for them every week at garage sales, so that they love coming here.
That happens. I have a few friends that are new grandparents, and they're, oh my, I'm going to go to Goodwill and see what they have in the stuffed animals and the toys and the baby
Right.
blankets. And, it's a whole new world of buying, because now
Exactly,
they
yeah.
have the grandkids to buy for, and they keep growing and entering different phases. And, one just wants books. She just loves her books for her grandkids and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And then I could resell them. A lot of the stuff I buy that's collectible. Well, my grandson wants any boy's toy. He wants it, so I let him play with it for a while, and then I could put it on eBay now. So
right,
because they get tired of it right away.
Well, you're heading out to a sale this morning, right?
Yeah, I got a sale. It already started, but
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up because you got to go get stuff. Well, you don't have to, you just want to.
Well, I like to go on there. And I end up meeting people I know there. Any other dealers, I say, hey, how you doing? I was at a sale yesterday. I knew 3 of the other dealers that were standing in line with me.
So this is an estate sale?
Yeah, it's an estate sale. Sounds like it's family, but I'm not sure, but I'll go and look.
All right. Well, we'll let you head out and do that. So any final words of advice for new people or people struggling?
Well, just rely on your phone. I mean, don't buy anything that you can't look it up and you don't know what you're doing. And I see people all the time, they have a little glass knickknack and I go, oh, what do you think? I bought this. I liked it. No one's going to buy it if there's no name on there. How are you going to list it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it says Waterford China on there, that's one thing. But if there's just a glass with no name, why would you buy the thing? You can't. No one's going to buy it.
Yeah, it probably came from the dollar store. You don't know what it is.
Yeah, just because you like it don't mean anything.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I buy all stuff that I don't like. I would never buy it, and I wonder why someone else bought it. But someone on eBay is going to buy it. And I know it is because I've looked it up and I know what it is. It makes it simple if you got a phone.
That saying of "you are not your customer" doesn't matter why they want it; they just want it.
Exactly. I go to the flea market. I sell this stuff. I'm wondering why are these people buying junk for $1? I don't know, but they're buying it. So.
Well, some of them have a shopping problem and they just like to buy stuff for no reason.
Can I tell you one story about the flea market real quick?
You can tell a story, of course.
I was at the flea market and I set up and there was a guy next to me and he was real well dressed and he put these black tablecloths on his tables that kind of went all the way down to the front in the front. And he put all this stuff out and he had knickknacks and glassware and he had it all set up beautiful like a store or something. And I was just dumping the stuff, all my junk on the tables, there's no order, rhyme, or reason. And he came over and he said, hey, buddy, you need to learn some merchandising skills. He said, this is not the way to display things, I'm like, I've only been doing it for 30 years, so whatever. So the whole day, I'm like this, changing money, selling stuff. And he's standing there with his arms watching me the whole day. Nobody's even looking at his stuff. And, I ended up selling $600 worth of stuff. And he finally came over and he goes, I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing something right. But he says, I don't get it. I said, this is the flea market. You're not at some store or something. These people want junk. They want it cheap. And, they're not going to buy those knickknacks and stuff. They don't want it. I mean,
Doesn't
you learn
matter.
that by experience. I know, I go to a flea market it's not a big high-end antique flea market. It's just a regular, people are selling clothing and shoes and junk, it's just, that's the clientele that's there. So you gotta sell to them.
And I would have said, it doesn't matter how pretty your table is. If you're not selling the right stuff, then you're not going to sell anything.
No. But I enjoy it. I have fun out there. I talk to people all day long. It gives me someone to talk to. I know a lot of people. I get to know them. They stop by and again, they tell me their life story and I know who their kids are and everything. It's just amazing.
Well, it sounds like you've made it really fun.
You have to really, you have to enjoy it. It can't be a job. It's not a job to me. It's just a hobby. It's a fun hobby and I can make a lot of money at it. So it's
a hobby that makes money, and that's I love to see your generation active in doing this because retirement used to mean just sitting at home and doing nothing.
I couldn't do that.
I know my grandparents were kind of like that. It's just, but to see somebody 70 years old or almost 70, doing this every day and doing the computer part and the shipping and, you're keeping your brain active and you're enjoying it. So
it's very social, very social.
People ask me like, well, when are you going to retire? And it's like, never. Just, I can do this until I cannot do it anymore.
Exactly. Me too. That's what I plan on doing.
To what you can handle. Like you're not going to do the furniture. You're not going to do big things that are
do what you can do.
Physically hard to work with. Just it'll evolve as you get older and you know how to do all of it. You know how to do the computer part and the shipping, you know how to find the stuff.
Right.
So why would you stop if you don't have to?
And I enjoy it. That's the main thing. I enjoy it. It's not like a job to me. It's not work.
It's a lifestyle, really.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will let you go to your sale and you can find good stuff that you can add to your collection in the basement.
One of the problems I have on the $100 sales thread is that I don't know what I paid for stuff most of the time. Because I buy a lot of stuff, and if I sell something for $400, what did I pay for that? It's hard.
That's okay. Just post it anyway because
it's hard. It's hard to.
That's fine. Just say that. This was part of a lot. I don't really know what I paid, but what you're doing is you're showing that thing sold for that much money, and people love that thread because they get a visual of what to look for.
That's why I watch that. I learn stuff every week there. Every week.
Oh, great! I'm so glad to hear that somebody like you still learns new stuff.
Oh, it's amazing what people find. It's just amazing. I've been buying blankets because I learned that they're blankets. Blankets are good money. I mean, I bought a couple the other day, some really nice ones. So.
And they're pretty easy. They can be sort of a pain to photograph, but.
I just lay them on a bed and take a picture.
Yeah, they're easy. They're not going to break. They're not going to expire. And
put them in a bag.
A lot of them are collectible. Yeah.
Oh, they are. They are. And I look them up. If there's a name on there, I look up that name. It's not like I'm buying any old blanket. I look up the name on there. Is it selling? Then I buy it.
Well, thanks for spending some time with me on this Saturday morning. And we're both going to head out and look for treasures, which is our favorite part.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Suzanne. I love your groups.
Thank you so much for everything you contribute.
Okay, thank you. Have a good holiday.
You too. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Thanks again, George, for taking some time to come on my podcast and share your wisdom. We really appreciate all that you contribute to the Facebook group, and we'll be looking for your amazing sales in 2022. Thanks, listeners, for tuning in. I appreciate all of you, and I'll be back next week with another eBay chat. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.